And it like from 5:30 this morning until 9 o'clock. Whoa! So 9 o'clock till 9 o'clock, like I've never thought
Yeah, the mic is on. Thanks so much. No problem.
you look so fun. Thanks. You do look good every day. You look awesome.
Hey guys, my boyfriend's mom thought she's here.
Oh.
And I feel like I have to wear them. That's true.
Give me a second. Who's going clear?
Get on. We figured it out.
Oh yeah.
I was driving in the sun.
I
walk all the time. It's awesome.
So
Get away.
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, November 18th, 2021 with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations, the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, we'll go ahead and move into first roll call.
Thanks, Blake, and good evening, everyone. First, Bain.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Binkley.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Bray.
Here.
Kahlo. Chapas. Compton.
Here.
Croslow.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Ansero.
Here.
Esslinger.
Here.
Gann.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Hotzel. Jimbanathan.
Here.
Kalarikyal.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mayer.
Here.
McPhee.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Middaugh.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Pineda Gomez.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Prester.
Present.
Richenberg.
Here.
Riffle.
Here.
Rook. Roth.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Scharnhorst.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Splekel.
Here.
Sistma.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Vogelmore.
Here.
Wallace. Warren.
Here.
And Willis Reese. Alrighty.
Alrighty. With that, we'll go ahead and move into first open period for the evening. And first up, we have the director of the Alumni Association, Amy Button-Renz.
Thank you. Oh, I have a PowerPoint that didn't get, we sent it, but for some reason it wasn't received. So I'm going to apologize because a lot of what I have are numbers and you're not going to be able to see them. So what I will do is maybe resend it and then you could.
That sent out to everyone
Okay.
afterwards.
But I'm just honored to be here tonight, and I really owe my career to student government. I didn't sit in this room. We were in what would have been the Big 8 room, now the Big 12 room upstairs. But I was elected to Student Senate as a freshman in Arts and Sciences, and then elected every year until I graduated. And after my freshman year, the student body president asked if I would chair the Senate Ops Committee. So I was thrilled about that, and I know you still have that today. Well, then I ended up chairing the Finance Committee, and which is when we decided all of the budget allocations. But we weren't very smart like all of you. We would do it until 5 or 6 in the morning, 2 nights straight, which was crazy. I don't know why we did that. Dr. Pat Bosco was our advisor. He should have told us that that was not a good way to do things. But it really taught me a lot. I was also elected by the Student Senate to serve as the faculty, or the student rep to Faculty Senate. So I had some incredible opportunities. I also had one heartbreak. I ran for student body president and was not elected. I actually ran the year, and some of you probably have heard of Bernard Franklin. Bernard is an amazing leader. He was supporting me and asked if we could meet in the Student Senate office because he said, I don't think you're going to get elected. I think it's going to be this guy that's never been in Student Senate. And people are encouraging me to run because if you're not going to get it, we don't want him to get it. Well, he ended up finishing dead last, but Bernard ran and it was past the deadline. So he had to run as a write-in candidate and he still won. But he was the right person to receive the position and did an amazing job. Also went on to be the youngest graduate to ever be on the Board of Regents, Kansas Board of Regents. So it did not hurt our friendship at all. I just wished I'd known he was going to run before the deadline because I would not have run. But I ended up having an amazing opportunity. Peters Rec Complex. Dr. Chet Peters was the Vice President for Student Affairs. And he asked me after I lost election, he says, I have something even better for you to do. I want you to chair the referendum for the rec complex. Of course, at that time, we didn't know it was going to be named after him. But the first referendum was defeated soundly. The students were not in favor of it, but it was not a very well-run campaign. So we ended up getting it passed like 80%. And I will always be grateful that Dr. Peters gave me that opportunity because I look at the Peters Rec Complex and it's an amazing facility and we're so lucky to have that. Well, fast forward to graduation and I moved to DC with my political science degree with no job, and which is the way most people do it. I can't believe my parents let me do that. But I had interned for Senator Bob Dole, and he had no openings, but he helped me find a job with a senator from Nebraska. Well, after about 9 months of being in DC, I kind of decided I really wanted to come back to Kansas. And I went to an alumni event, and the alumni director, and this is why when you get invited to an alumni event, you should go. The alumni director asked me what my future plans were. I said, I think I'm going to apply to get my master's in public administration at K-State, and if that happens, I'll move back. And he says, well, if you decide to do that and you get accepted, please set up an appointment with me. And I did, and an hour later, I walked out with a job. And I came back that summer, and I started all of our student programs. We had no student programs at all at the association. And how can you expect new graduates to really connect with an alumni association if you don't even know who they are? At that point in time, we were in a small building where Throckmorton Hall is. We have a much more visible building now today, but that building was only built in 2002, so we've always been off campus until 2002. But like I said, I really owe my job today. I said I would not be very good at telling somebody how to write a resume or to interview because here, 40 years later, I'm still at the association, and I became president in 1994. And my favorite thing about my job is working with students. And I see several of you here that I actually know, so it's fun to reconnect. Our mission statement at the Alumni Association is to lead and inspire lifelong involvement with Kansas State University. We say we're the link for life. We're the ones that really hopefully can connect you so you want to stay involved with the university. And what I think is really interesting is that, does anyone know how many people were in the very first class at Kansas State University? 52, and what is truly amazing, 26 women and 26 men. Back then, women didn't go to college. So K-State has always been very, I think, progressive when it comes to providing opportunities for diversity and inclusion. We have many graduates from the late 1800s that were African American. That didn't happen at most universities. So I'm really proud that our university, a land-grant university, believed in all of that. I have a slide that was to tell you where the alumni live. Obviously, the top state is Kansas, and about half of our alumni live in the state of Kansas and live outside of the state. And we also have about 5,000 international graduates that are all over the world. Missouri is second, Texas is third, Colorado, California. I won't go into the whole list, but today, what's also amazing is we're still about 50% men and 50% women. And so that our roots are still holding. When it looks at the top 10 countries, obviously the United States, but after that we have China, Canada, India, Nigeria, Korea, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Ecuador, and Japan. And we one time in the mail received a alumni directory from South Korea. We couldn't read it because it was all in Korean, but they have 175 graduates at that time, and 150 of them had email addresses, so we could communicate with them. Our biggest challenge today, and I encourage you when you graduate, share your email address with us if you want to stay connected with the university. We make about 6,000 address changes every month to something on an alumni record because we're in charge of keeping track of all of that. But people don't often, they might send their new address, but they won't send their new email address. So that's something I really encourage you to do. And I think that's amazing that a country very far away has that many people that want to stay connected. And then when you look at the top 10 metro cities, how many of you are from Kansas City or that area? Okay, that is our #1 population. You would have guessed that, I'm sure. Over 40,000 alumni live in the Kansas City, Missouri area. Manhattan is second, Wichita. And then we have over 9,000 alumni that live in Texas. And if any of you decide you want to move to Dallas-Fort Worth, we have an alumni volunteer that is simply amazing. And if you want to go there, she has a group email that she sends out to thousands of people. And you can post in her group email what you're looking for, and everybody always gets placed. So, and I'm here anytime to help you in your job search. If I know somebody in the area you want, the field you want to go into, or the city, I'm more than happy to help you with that. And then as far as outreach, pre-pandemic, we were doing about 1,000 events per year, and we were reaching over 100,000 people. Obviously with COVID, just like you, everything kind of came to a halt. We started doing what we called Wildcat Chats, and we would do things that were, obviously virtual. And last year we sponsored 234 events, but still reached 52,000 people. I think virtual, Zoom, things like that are here to stay. And I think that's good because we have an alumnus that's on our alumni board that's getting ready. She just accepted a job with Georgetown, and she's going to move to Qatar and run their academic program over there for Georgetown. So we now will have an international board member. What you may not know is that the association provides over $550,000 in scholarships for students. We recently had a scholarship reception, and there's some people in this room that were at that reception. And I'm really proud of the fact that the association really values helping you financially. When I started at the association, we had $0 that were going towards scholarships, and over time it has really grown. We also made the commitment a few years ago to provide $20,000 in scholarships for international students, because international students are not eligible for financial aid, and there are very few scholarships that they're eligible for. So that's something that we did start, and I'm really proud of that. Student programs, what you may not know is the association is responsible for the All University Homecoming. It's a student committee of about 30 students, student alumni board. Max is a member, and there's about 30 people that are a part of that. We have student ambassadors. We sponsor that program, so it's something that we're excited about. Grad Bash, Student Alumni Board, like I mentioned, and our annual student awards. Some of you may be someone that's nominated for some of our awards for seniors. We have the Anderson Awards for Outstanding Leadership. We have the Robinson Multicultural Family Awards. But If you see any of that information and you have a friend that you want to nominate, or you yourself are interested, please go ahead and apply for those areas. And I just have a couple more things I want to share. We are the #1 license plate, that Power Cat that people can get for, does anybody in the room have a Power Cat plate, or you have a family member that, yay, okay. We have over 11,000 license plates in the state of Kansas. We are the #1 affinity plate. That other university in the state has about half of that. And I always want to beat the Jayhawks, so that's extremely important to me. We've raised over $5.5 million since 1997 off of a $50 donation. That just speaks volumes about the loyalty of our alumni. And we also have a license plate program in the state of Texas, and we also have one in Maryland. We're getting ready to start one in Oklahoma. In Kansas, you only had to have 500 people signed up and ready to go. And that only took us a couple of months. It took KU much longer to do that. But if you want to go into the state of Florida, it's like $60,000 and you don't get the money back. So we don't have enough alumni in there to make it appealing. But I think it's something that K-Staters are proud of. And when you see them on the highway, I think I'm always excited, and you don't see very many plates from the other Regents institutions. The other thing that the Alumni Association is proud of is we're #1 for membership, and we've been #1 for over 25 years for the percentage of graduates in the Big 12. I've checked the new 4 schools that are going to be joining us, and I don't think we're going to lose that #1 status, so we're excited about that. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership, because what you're doing every Thursday night and with the committees that you serve on, you make a tremendous difference. And appreciate Kelly and all of her work. And if I can ever do anything for you, don't hesitate to ask. I'll include my contact information when I send the PowerPoint. And does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll go ahead and open up the floor for any questions. Chair Harmon.
In your tenure leading the Alumni Association, what are some of the biggest changes over those years that you're most proud of?
Probably our Alumni Center, because we were located in a very small, we were located at the Foundation building where they used to reside on 1 floor, and we really couldn't do any outreach whatsoever. I think also the scholarship component, the fact that we are able to, provide that much to over 500 students. And then probably the third thing is our commitment to diversity and inclusion. We have a Multicultural Alumni Council, which is involving multicultural graduates from all over the country, and then leading to them being involved in either their college or the department. Probably one final thing, we have 2 students on our alumni board. Michael just walked in. Most associations don't even have 1 student, and we have 2. And the alumni really listen to the students. And it's important, Michael just gave at the most recent board meeting an update about student government. We have several former student body presidents, many people that were involved in student government, so they're very interested in what you're doing. And in some cases, some of the issues are exactly the same. Parking you solved with the parking garage. Well, not completely solved. That was a topic of discussion when I was in school. And at one point in time, they wanted to put it in Memorial Stadium and tear down Memorial Stadium. I'm so glad that didn't happen, so.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? President Dowd.
So Amy, I'm asking this because I know the answer.
Okay.
But when you look at all the wonderful people who are involved in the Alumni Association, are involved in the foundation, are involved, in athletics as well, and all of that overlap that happens, how would you describe the way that those groups work together? And I don't know if you already answered that in your presentation. And then also, how is that rare that we see that here?
Great question. We have an amazing partnership. Most schools, athletics doesn't get along with foundation, or alumni doesn't get along with athletics. That doesn't happen here at K-State. We all work together, and one of the perfect examples would be, and we're bowl bound again, so you'll see this, but at the pep rally, all 4 entities, President's Office, Alumni Foundation, and Athletics, co-sponsor that. Most schools, it would only be athletics. And we co-sponsor the Catbacker events that take place throughout the state of Kansas in the springtime. So It's very rare, and my colleagues are very, very envious. I was on a panel one time to talk about our partnership with athletics. I was the only one on the panel that had any positive things to say. And it was really sad because it shouldn't be that way. And, do we always agree with one another completely? No, but I think we all put what's best for the university. And President Myers has been an amazing president to work with because he's just continued on what President Schultz and President Weefald did. So, great question. Thank you.
All right, are there any further questions? I actually have one. So I know something big that the Alumni Association's been involved in is the Alumni Village. Could you talk a little bit about, I guess, like the status of that and the impact that we'll see from it?
I'm glad you asked that because actually everyone thinks we're involved in it and we have no involvement whatsoever. I think because of the name and it's right across the street, I'm sure everyone in here thought that the Alumni Association was responsible for that. We are not involved at all in any kind of land acquisitions or building projects. That's actually the foundation. And I think right now it's kind of on pause as they're making decisions on how they're going to move forward. I'd recommend you have somebody from the foundation come and talk. If it does come to fruition, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be very, very nice. But I can say we honestly didn't have anything to do with it. But with that name, I think everyone like you thinks we're responsible and in charge.
Yeah, thanks so much for that clarification. That was
Good
my
question.
bad. Senator Booz.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. And yeah, you mentioned parking as one example of a thing that you were dealing with back in time, and then we're still at least have some input into that. Like, can you elaborate on like other areas where you kind of see that, or see like alumni having dealt with something and we're dealing with it now as well?
Well, a big thing that we dealt with was the marching band because the Student Senate used to fund the marching band, and then there was a decision made that that was no longer going to happen, and they kind of were just out there in no man's land on like what's going to happen. But alumni stepped up and provided funding and really support to Dr. Trace, and it really shouldn't have been the responsibility. I mean, as much as I love the marching band and Dr. Trace, students shouldn't have had to have paid for that. That should be something that's coming from the university or athletics, and that ended up happening. So I would say another bit, sports clubs. Do you fund soccer, lacrosse, rugby, or any of those clubs? So we did that, and it was a big controversy because it was like, okay, should athletics do this? Should Student Senate do this? And we were able to wean off some of the funding. But that's the hard thing about Student Senate. You can see a really good cause and something that you want to support. But if the support should be coming from somewhere else in the university, how do you make that happen? And sometimes that's easy. Sometimes you can, administrators will open up to that. But sometimes it's just a lack of funding. It's not that they don't desire to do it. But I can remember sitting in meetings over in the Student Senate office or the Student Government office and talking about how are we going to solve this marching band problem because Student Senate took a stand. And others in previous years had tried to take a stand, but it didn't work. That Student Senate really had a lot of courage, and it ended up working out because they still got the funding, but it wasn't coming from students anymore.
Yeah, thanks.
Senator Insero.
Yeah, you mentioned resources for helping with that. You're helping students to network with alumni all over the country. How might a student take advantage of those, and what do you think is kind of best practices there?
Well, the Career Center will help you after graduation for up to 1 year. And Carrie Keller does a great job. It's after that really we come usually into play. But I will have students contact me, and they're going to move to DC. Some of you may know Marissa Lux. She ended up getting an internship, didn't know anyone really there. So I went to work and contacted the people I knew, and she had this whole network of people. Our staff can do that. Usually I'm the one that everything gets directed to. And because I love working with students or new grads, I'm happy to do that to help. We used to have a full-time member on our staff half-time, that did career services. Unfortunately, we're not part of the university. We're totally a separately governed association. We did not end up having to lay anyone off or cut anybody's pay, but when she decided to retire, we decided to put that position on pause. So I've become our Career Center resource, which I'm happy to do.
Thank you.
All right, are there any further questions tonight? President Dowd.
So one last one. Amy, as some of us begin to get ready for graduation, move on from K-State, what's your best advice for us to stay connected, and then maybe some of those first steps to getting to the point where we can help impact K-State financially?
Well, every single one of you, when you graduate, will receive a membership in the Alumni Association for the first year from your college. So my best advice is when you get the renewal in that second year, renew. It's only $20. It's half of a regular annual membership. Because you would get the K-Stater magazine, which goes out 4 times a year. There's all kinds of benefits, a discount at the student union bookstore. But more importantly, people typically join out of loyalty. And that isn't something that is real common at other universities, the fact that we're #1 in the Big 12. If you took all the large publics, we'd be in the top 5. But I hope you had, when you graduate, I hope you can say, I had a good experience. I want to help my alma mater. One of the best ways you can help is when you meet students that are prospective students, encourage them to look at K-State, because right now that could help us more than anything. I think our enrollment is going to be completely turned around. We just had a COVID year when they discover K-State when they come for a campus visit. And when you come for a campus visit, that's when you know that I really feel comfortable here. We didn't have that last year. And our admits were up. We just didn't yield like we normally do. So, but I think providing names and then just talking about your experience. I think those are things. And some people will never be able to make that large donation. But the Alumni Association, we have an annual fund. A $50 donation is very important to the association. And, and your gift of your time. Some of you might be a future alumni club volunteer or a future alumni board member. Or maybe you'll serve on your college advisory council. There's so many ways to give back besides money. And the money piece is important, but it's one big example. Warden Brenda Morgan, that owns Civics Plus here in Manhattan, made a major gift to name the volleyball and Olympic Sports Training Center. And they're so generous, but they're so humble. And it's really neat to see that. But those $50 donations, $100 donations are just as important. We started with our Student Alumni Board members when we were doing the calling years ago. And you would call and ask somebody to donate that had never donated before. Most of the people we call have already donated at some point in time. So we asked for $18.63 because that's when we were founded. And it worked. And a lot of people would round it up to $20, $25. So, but great question. So remember, when you get that first alumni renewal notice in your second year, be sure and join. And you heard it here. So I was at an event one time and a student stood up and I had never even talked about that. And he talked about how when he becomes a member, he's going to make sure he pays every year when he gets his renewal notice. So.
Awesome. Are there any other questions out there? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate it.
All right. Are there any other speakers tonight for first open period? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move into approval of the minutes for the night. The minutes were distributed on Tuesday with the agenda and our legislation tracking information. Are there any questions or corrections for the minutes? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion to approve the minutes. Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. We'll go ahead and move into announcements for the week. So first, we have our COVID-19 information at the top. So please consider getting vaccinated. Additionally, as we all head home for break, please consider scheduling an asymptomatic COVID test. Those are free for all students. And just, safe travels home. Next, lapel pins are here. You might have seen some people wearing them around. I am so happy with how these turned out. So if you ordered one, please come and see me after Senate and I can get that to you. And additionally, if you have seen people wearing them and you're like, dang, I should have gotten one of those, I have extra. So feel free to fill out that form and I can get you one of those as well. Additionally, I am seeking 6 senators to serve on the Student Center Tuition Enhancements Committee during the beginning of the spring semester. The purpose of this committee is to provide seed money to cool new programs on campus. And so if you're interested in doing that, please contact me so I can note your interest. Additionally, our applications for the next Attorney General are still open, so please consider applying if you have not. Next, proxies for the week. We got a good size list today. We have Gann for Holland, Insero for Dunlap, Richenberg for Lister, Kahlo for Marquez, Compton for Blood, Lynn for Bannister, Scharnhorst for Willis Jackson, Koch for Stout, Dock for Fields, Volgamore for Hotzel, Scharnhorst for DeMott, Bain for Kidd, Binkley for Fuss, and Shear for Kramer. Next, we have our Zoom info at the bottom there. And then our SGA member of the week this year is Jyothi Kalarikal. Jyothi completed the second phase of the intern program this year and has been really getting involved with SGA. Thank you so much for joining and for getting involved so fast. If we can get a round of applause. All right, and then everyone, next week, enjoy your break, but make sure to cheer on the Cats as they face Texas on Friday. Finally, our quote of the week this week: give thanks not just on Thanksgiving Day, but every day of your life. Appreciate and never take for granted all that you have. And that is by Catherine Pulsifer. With that, we will go ahead and move into approval of appointments for the night. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 36? Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to consider Resolution 36.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 36. Will the author please come forward?
Hello, everybody. This is Resolution 36. The reason it's numbered like that is because we postponed it last week. Anyway, Resolution 21-2236, approval of new student senators. Authors Evan Porter, sponsors the Senate Operations Committee. Whereas there are currently 3 vacancies for the position of student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, whereas the list of candidates from the 2021 KSU SGA general election has been exhausted, whereas Jyothi Lakshmi Kalarikal was nominated by the Health and Human Sciences College Council in its capacity to fill the vacancy, whereas there is currently 1 vacancy for the position of student senator for the graduate school, whereas the list of candidates from the 2021 KSU SGA general election has been exhausted, whereas Jack Sitzma was nominated by the Graduate School Student Council in its capacity to fill the vacancy, whereas there is currently 1 vacancy for the position of student senator for the College of Education, and whereas Benjamin Roth has the next highest vote total of eligible and willing candidates in the 2021 KSU SGA general election for the College of Education, be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, Jyothi Lakshmi Kalarikal. Section 2, the following individual be approved as a senator for the graduate school, Jack Sitzma. And Section 3, the following individual be approved as a senator for the College of Education, Benjamin Roth.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Scharnhorst.
I believe Jack Sitzma's name was misspelled.
Yeah, on line 20, I caught that. And then on line 27, Blake, I'm missing SGA or KSU in front of SGA.
All right, got those down. Are there any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion on Resolution 36. Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to approve Resolution 36 unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 36 unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 36 will stand approved. If you all want to come down front, we can get you sworn in.
2 times in a row for you.
Alrighty, everyone, if you'll go ahead and raise your right hand and say, I will at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
Awesome. All right. So with that, if you want to introduce yourselves, your name, pronouns, major, hometown, and favorite smell.
Hi, you guys. My name is Jyothi Lakshmi Kalarikal, and I'm in the College of Health and Human Sciences, and my hometown is Garden City, Kansas, and my favorite smell is jasmine.
Hi, I'm Jack Sitzma. My pronouns are he, him. I'm from a small town in Iowa called Lighton, Iowa. There's like 180 people there. I'm a master's student in biology here, and my favorite smell is coffee.
My name is Ben Roth. I'm from Hessen, Kansas. I'm in the College of Ed, and my favorite smell would have to be rain right before it's about to rain, I guess.
Very nice. Awesome. Thank you all so much. You all can head back to your seats. We can get one more round of applause. All right. With that, we will go ahead and move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Richenberg.
Okay, mine's gonna be super quick, but like pretty much, so my committee we died down. We got the two big things that like our committee normally works on. And so we're kind of all working on individual projects, and I know some of them kind of overlap with some other initiatives people are working on in SGA, or just some interests that you have presented to other people. So be looking out for people emailing you about some of those stuff. I think we'd love to have just more help on it. Even if you're not part of GR, we would still love your help. But yeah, just look out for those emails, please.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Richenberg? Seeing none, thank you very much, Marta. Are there any other committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Salmon.
All right, sorry. This is tangentially related to what DEI is doing, but Representative Byers of the 86th District in Kansas came and spoke at our Trans Day of Remembrance event we had on Sunday, and she sent me a proclamation by Governor Kelly, which was either done or is going to be done for Trans Day of Remembrance being an official day in Kansas on the 20th, which I thought was really cool. She's going to be sending an actual copy of it from the governor, so I was just excited about that, and I think it's pretty neat. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, RJ. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, I will seek any directors who would like to give a report. President Dowd.
I gotta find the right page in my journal. Hello, everyone. This has been kind of one of my busiest weeks ever. Total count for search committee stuff, I can't say where we are in the process, but y'all can probably have a pretty good idea of where we are. 58 hours in a little bit over a month, so that's really fun, really exciting, and has been an incredibly rewarding opportunity. And as you all might have known or seen or heard, from what Amy shared a little bit earlier, we kind of have the greatest people ever here at Kansas State University. And I want to take a moment and call out all of those different groups that work their tails off to make sure that K-State is supported. First and foremost, the Alumni Association. Secondly, the Foundation. Athletics is also on there too. Our faculty and our staff who work tirelessly to make sure that the university continues to function, and as well as our administration and our local relations directors, be it those who work in the city office. So we have an incredible group of supporters, and that was very much mentioned and very well seen through the search committee process and through the alumni board meetings. So I'll chat a little bit about that. But before I get there, let's just do a quick round of applause, even though there's really not a ton here, but I think it is still worth us applauding. Great, thank you. So, Alumni Board meeting was on Friday, a really great time. We started at 7:30 with a tour of the Multicultural Student Center with Director Kevin Santos-Flores, so really enjoyed our time with him. And then moved into largely just reports from a variety of different stakeholders, be it from the foundation, from the Alumni Center, from different board members, and from President Myers. We held a panel around student well-being. So we had Dr. Toller, Kathleen Hatch, and Dr. Jeannie Brown-Leonard, who all shared their perspectives there. Also had more panels towards the end as well. And so, I think probably the biggest thing is that alumni are very well invested in what the student experience is like. And I think it's so crucial that we have students on that committee to share their perspectives, because I think, just by putting it out there, we've now gained more traction and more interest from specific donors, specifically around mental well-being. And so very excited for some things in the works around that. So other things, Jerry and Nancy Jacks received the Outstanding KSU Alumni Award, which was an incredible banquet on Friday. So learned a lot about their works in essentially protecting the United States from an Ebola outbreak in the early 90s and late 80s. So incredible story. There's actually a book and a docuseries posted about them called The Hot Spot, or The Hot Zone, one of those. And yeah, really, really great couple who both went to the vet school here and then went into the military and ended up working on biosecurity efforts across the nation. So other thing, last thing is just KBOR. So we had Student Advisory Council, which was great. So getting things ready, Director Logan Cohn has been working really hard to make sure that there's more connection and collaboration between us and the other Kansas schools as far as how we'll be advocating for higher education to the state legislature. Also looking into kind of what those focus areas might be. So if you're interested in that, I know he's leading the Legislative Advocates Group, which will be really, really great. Other things, so the two proposals that we had put forward for renovation of the West Memorial Complex for the band, that passed. And then there was also another one that, it was for athletics, to put that proposal through for volleyball and Olympic Training Center. Those both passed. So that is great news. Also, there's a lot of discussion around health insurance, and a task force for student health focuses around KBOR. So anyway, that's all I got. I'll stand for questions and hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Are there any questions for President Dowd tonight? Seeing none, thank you for your report, Michael. Are there any other directors who would like to give a report tonight? Elections Commissioner Cruzen.
Hey friends, quick update on my part with all things elections related. Quick note on the elections committee. I did extend that deadline to Friday, to tomorrow at midnight. So if you haven't had the chance to submit it yet, please go ahead and do so. There was an issue with it earlier, but I think I fixed it. So if you can check it, and if it's still not fixed, let me know and I will go back and fix it. But I think it should be open. We got an email from IT regarding IRV CASIS election software stuff, and it looks like IT is on track to making that a reality for the spring, which is very I'm looking forward to that. We'll begin talking with them after we come back from break, and hopefully it should be well. So we should be able to do runoff voting in the spring. And then lastly, I wanted to give a brief update regarding fundraising. I know with my previous bill made it so that you could fundraise as soon as you filed. Unfortunately, it looks like IT won't allow the filing application to open until second semester anyways. So unfortunately, that doesn't seem like it will have the intended effect that I was wanting it to have. So you'll be able to fundraise like a week earlier. But if any of you have any ideas as to how to make fundraising more equitable, or if you have any ideas, please let me know. I'd love to work with you on that as we approach the spring. But yeah, that's all for me.
Awesome. Any questions out there? Intern Coordinator Grills.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what day, have we already figured out the filing date?
So I'm still talking to IT about that. They've made it clear that it probably won't be this semester. It'll be second semester. Since we're going to meet with IT anyways for runoff voting stuff, I'll probably just ask them then and see if I can get a better idea when we're already meeting with them. So hopefully I'll have an idea about that before we break for winter break.
Chair Richenberg.
Yeah, so with the filing date, is the only reason why IT's like holding it off, is it because like funding reasons? Like why can't they do it earlier?
See, that's a great question. What I've heard, Khalid, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in contact with them. It's a CASIS issue. So CASIS doesn't recognize your spring enrollment until a certain date. They have to upload that into the system. And that's like they're on a regular schedule for that. So it would be like a whole nother enhancement to IT. So it's not that they can't, it's not that they won't do it, it's that they can't do it in the way that it currently is. Your enrollment doesn't recognize Marta's enrolled on December 24 for the next semester because technically those classes don't exist in the class schedule until that time comes.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Senator Booz.
Yeah, and just to make sure, if you wanted to apply to that, that's still in the old org central, or is it on new org central now?
For the elections committee report, or application, it is still an old org central, but the link that has been in the Senate announcements is the link that will direct you to that. So if you click on that link, it should be able to go there. But yes, it is in the old org central. Goodness.
Follow-up granted.
And I guess, how many more people do you need?
Right now, I think I'm actually at the perfect number of how many people I need. More the merrier. So if you haven't, please still apply, but I don't need anybody else to apply.
All right, any further questions out there? Seeing none, thank you very much, Reed. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move into approval of the allocations for tonight. We had Bill 37, which was referred favorably from the On-Campus Allocations Committee, 7-0, and then Bills 38 and 39, which were both referred favorably from the Travel Allocations Committee, 4-0. Is there a motion to approve the allocations? Senator Scharnhorst.
I move to approve the allocation.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the allocations. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the allocations will stand approved tonight. With that, we will go ahead and move into final action. And first up, we have Bill 40. Will the author please come forward? Cox Leader Lynn.
I move that we both roll call bills 40, 41, and 43.
It has been moved and seconded to bulk roll call bills 40, 41, and 43. Are there any objections? Seeing none, bills 40, 41, and 43 will be bulk roll called. And have any changes been made?
Yeah, so on Bill 40, there was a change that we made to the whereas clauses. We added the whereas clause on line 39, which states, in the past couple of years, the Elections Commissioner has produced written reports for the Senate Operations Committee and Student Senate, which have been helpful to consult over the year. And then we changed the punctuation and stuff to make sure everything flowed correctly.
Gotcha. You have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so I think I might as well just debate on all of these now because they're very, very similar topics as far as it goes. I just figured that it would be better to kind of weave them throughout the Constitution, bylaws, and statutes. And I really think like this is an institutional knowledge change, which is one of my primary things I wanted to get done this year. When I was in my first year Senate Operations Chair, I didn't know who did reapportionment. And that was the year that we had also had our previous advisor left, who, as far as I can tell, was the person who had actually been doing the reapportionment that is mandated by the Constitution. And so since I didn't know about it and the person who had just been doing it left, I believe that's why like we just didn't reapportion that year because I didn't know about it. And like that was my bad, and I fixed it in the second year that we had. But I wanted to make sure that we had not only that Student Senate should be reapportioned every year, but also that Student Senate would be reapportioned by specific people every year. And so that's what these bills, these bills primarily do. And so the constitutional changes are the changes that actually state which apportionment mechanism we're using. The largest remainder method with the Hare quota, which is also basically called the Hamiltonian method after Alexander Hamilton, and was used to reapportion the House of Representatives from 1850-ish to 1900. And so that one is the easiest one to explain. It is the one that we used last year and in 2017 through 2014, vice versa. So I believe that that would be the right one to write into the statutes. The other change that this makes is it makes sure that the elections committee is the party responsible for performing these calculations and announcing them, and actually doing the reapportionment before the election occurs. And so I believe that, like, I didn't want to give it just to the elections commissioner, because not only is that just one person, and that's like, that could be additional work, but that also involves still like some give and take from different people, just in case that there's one person who's like, I want to, you know, make sure that, you know, engineering has 50 out of 60 seats or whatever, which would not make any sense. So overall, like, I believe the elections commissioner and the elections committee would be the best body to do that. So yeah, I'll take any negative debate / question. Well, not questions, but.
All right. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 40? Is there any further debate in the positive on Bill 40? Finally, is there any debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bill 41. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I have no debate.
Gotcha.
Additional debate.
Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 41? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Cool. Same thing for Bill 43. I'll seek any debate at all. All right. With that, we will now move into a bulk roll call vote on Bills 40, 41, and 43.
Alrighty, thanks, Blake. So for those of you who have not voted with us before, I'll explain two things: how to vote and how to bulk vote. So when voting, you have 4 options: yes, no, pass, or abstain. 3 of them are pretty self-explanatory, but pass means that I will call everyone else's votes and then come back to you at the very end if you haven't made up your mind yet. For bulk roll call voting, that means you'll vote for all 3 bills at the same time. Please vote in the order of 1, 2, and 3. If you'd like to approve all of them, you can say yes for 1, 2, and 3. You can say yes for all. Or you can get specific on what you like and what you don't like. Yes for 1 and 2, no for 3, or so on. But anyway, we can jump right into it. First, Bain.
Yes to all.
Bannister.
Yes to all by proxy.
Barron.
Yes to all.
Bellamy.
Yes to all.
Binkley.
Yes to all.
Blood.
Yes to all by proxy.
Booz.
Yes to all.
Bray.
Yes to all.
Kahlo. Chapas.
Yes to all.
Compton.
Yes to all.
Croslow.
Yes to all.
DeMott.
Yes to all by proxy.
Doc.
Yes to all.
Dunlap.
Yes to all by proxy.
And Sarah.
Also yes to all.
Esslinger.
Yes to all.
Fields.
Yes to all by proxy.
Fuss.
Yes to all by proxy.
Gann.
Yes to all.
Glasscock.
Yes to all.
Holland.
Yes to all by proxy.
Hotzel.
Yes to all by proxy.
Jambunathan.
Yes to all.
Coloriquion.
Yes to all.
Kidd.
Yes to all by proxy.
Koch.
Yes to all.
Kramer.
Yes to all by proxy.
Lister.
Yes to all by proxy.
Long. Lynn.
Yes to all.
Marquez. Mayor.
Yes to all.
McPhee.
Yes to all.
Meyer.
Yes to all.
Middaw.
Yes to all.
Nelson.
Yes to all.
Pineda Gomez.
Yes to all.
Porter.
Yes to all.
Prester.
Yes.
Richenberg.
Yes to all.
Riffle.
Yes to all.
Rook. Roth.
Yes to all.
Salmon.
Yes to all.
Scharnhorst.
Yes to all.
Shear. Splekel.
Yes to all.
Stout.
Yes to all by proxy.
Sistema.
Yes to all.
Thomas.
Yes to all.
Volgamore.
Yes to all.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes to all.
Willis Jackson.
Yes to all by proxy.
And Willis Reese.
Yes to all.
Alrighty. On a vote of 51 to 0 for all 3 bills are approved.
Alrighty. With that, we will now go ahead and move on to Bill 42. Okay.
Were any changes made to Bill 42?
There have been no changes.
Fantastic. You have first rights to debate.
Alrighty, so yep, this legislation is pretty simple. This kind of just clarifies the job duties of the speaker. We had a change that passed last week, which kind of adds the Zoom aspect and the technology management side of Senate to the parliamentarian's role. But when we did that, we figured out that no one was actually designated to make the Senate agenda, which is a pretty important part of what we do. So I felt it was necessary to make the change to add that to the speaker's roles and responsibilities, since that's kind of the point, or one of the main parts of the job. And additionally, the final change that this bill makes is just striking specifically that the succession is outlined in the bylaws, because that isn't really a duty. That's just something that exists in the bylaws. So yep, I would really encourage a yes vote for a little bit more specification on what the roles and responsibilities are, and so that future speakers, just in case the former speaker doesn't transition them well, know that they have to make the agenda.
Alrighty, thanks for that debate, Blake. Are there any speeches in the negative on Bill 42? Any further speeches in the positive? Any debate at all? Alrighty, in that case, we'll go into another roll call vote on just one bill this time, on Bill 42. First, Bain.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Binkley.
Yes.
Blood. Booz.
Yes.
Bray.
Yes.
Kahlo. Chapas.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Croslow.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes by proxy.
Doc.
Yes.
Dunlap.
Yes by proxy.
Ansero.
Yes.
Esslinger.
Yes.
Fields.
Yes by proxy.
Fuss.
Yes by proxy.
Gann.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Holland.
Yes by proxy.
Hotzel.
Yes by proxy.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
Colorichal.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes by proxy.
Koch.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes by proxy.
Lister.
Yes by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Marquez. Mayor.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Middaugh.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Pineda Gomez.
Yes.
Porter.
Yes.
Prester.
Yeah.
Richenberg.
Yes.
Riffle.
Yes.
Rook. Roth.
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.
Scharnhorst.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Splekel.
Yes.
Stout.
Yes by proxy.
Sistma.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
Wallace. Warren.
Yes.
Willis Jackson.
Yes by proxy.
And Willis Reese.
Yes.
Fantastic. On a vote of 51 to 0 to 0, that legislation is also approved.
Alrighty. Last up in final action tonight, we have Bill 44. Will the author please come forward? All right. Have any changes been made?
Yeah, we just added a couple of people as members of the special committee.
All right. You have first rights to debate.
Alrighty. So yeah, Peyton and I have already done a lot of explaining to the chamber on what our intentions are with this committee. We think it's a really great opportunity to test what we believe to be a fantastic model for documentation in the future for all of the projects that SGA works on. I think if you are supportive of a chance to really test out our theory and look for more long-term progress for SGA as an institution, you should absolutely pass this and see what happens.
All right. Thank you very much for your debate, Nick. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 44? Is there any additional debate in the positive on Bill 44? Is there any debate at all? Seeing none, we will now move into a roll call vote.
Alrighty, thanks, Blake. Okay, everyone, last roll call vote of the night. First, Bain.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes by proxy.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Binkley.
Yes.
Blood.
Yes by proxy.
Booz.
Yes.
Bray. Kahlo. Chapas.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Croslow.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes by proxy.
Doc.
Yes.
Dunlap.
Yes by proxy.
Ansero.
Yes.
Esslinger.
Yes.
Fields.
Yes by proxy.
Fuss.
Yes by proxy.
Gann.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Oh yeah.
Holland.
Yes by proxy.
Hotzel.
Yes by proxy.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
Colorichal.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes by proxy.
Koch.
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes, Mr. Proxy.
Lister,
Yes, Mr. Proxy.
Long,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Marquez, Mayor,
Yes.
McPhee,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Middaw,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Pinedo Gomez,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Prester,
Yeah.
Richenberg,
Yes.
Riffle,
Yes.
Rook, Roth,
Yes.
Salmon,
Yes.
Scharnhorst,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Splekel,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes, by proxy.
Sisma,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vogelmore,
Yes.
Wallace, Warren,
Yep.
Willis Jackson,
Yes, by proxy.
and Willis Reese.
Yes.
Alrighty, on a vote of 52 to 0, that legislation is approved.
Alrighty. That concludes our voting for the night. We will go ahead and move into introduction of the allocations. Is there a motion to consider the allocations? Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to consider the allocations.
It has been moved and seconded to consider the allocations. So first up, we have Bill 46, the fiscal year 2022 travel allocation to Bridges International. They are going to the Visions Conference on December 28th through January 1st in Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Requested $2,205 and were recommended $1,000. Next, Bill 47, fiscal year 2022 travel allocation to the George Wright Society Tallgrass chapter. They are going to the Montgomery Bell State Park and Great Smoky Mountains National Park on March 12th to March 19th, and Montgomery State Bell Park and Pigeon Forge and they're going all over. They requested $1,000 and were recommended $500. Bill 48, fiscal year 2022 travel allocation to the National Society of Black Engineers. They are headed to the National Convention for NSBE from March 23rd to March 26th in Anaheim, California. Requested $1,200, recommended $1,000. Finally, Bill 49, fiscal year 2022 travel allocation to the Pre-Dental Club. They are going to the Kansas Mission of Mercy, February 18th through 19th in Hayes, Kansas. They requested $1,000 and were recommended $1,000. Are there any questions or corrections? Senator Booz.
Yeah, I wanted to inquire about the George Wright Society, which was only recommended 500, while the other two groups that were traveling were recommended 1,000. Why is that?
The membership that was confirmed to go on that trip was only 5 individuals.
Okay. It would be helpful to change some of the, have some of the text in there to reflect that.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, because it says they're taking 10.
Sure.
All right. And then I also have on Bill 48 taking out the S on travel allocations to just allocation. Are there any further questions or corrections out there? Seeing none. With that, we will now move to introduction of legislation for the night. Is there a motion to consider Bill 50? Chair Porter.
I move to consider Bill 50.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 50. Will the author please come forward? Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to allow the author to summarize Bills 50 and 51.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize Bills 50 and 51. Are there any objections? Seeing none, you may summarize, Annalee.
Good evening, everybody. Well, tonight I am introducing some legislation that just addresses that there are a lot of members of the judicial branch that do not have speaking rights. And while that may not seem super relevant because not a lot of judicial members attend, I know that there are quite a few that would hop upon the opportunity to debate if something was relevant or they were passionate about it, but trying to figure out who to ask for speaking rights can be intimidating and also can be very degrading just because it makes them feel like they're less of a member of SGA because they aren't allowed to just come forward and speak and that their position isn't recognized. So I think that this would be a great moment for inclusivity, at least for judicial branch members, and perhaps a few more will come and attend Senate.
Awesome. Are there any questions or corrections on Bill 50? Senator Booz.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of addressed this during your speech, but I was wondering if there was this particular incident that impeded. Wow, sorry, I'm messing up on words, but encouraged you to develop this, or if it was more of a general feeling.
I just have been snooping through bylaws and such, doing revisions the past few years, and for me, I always want to be 2 steps forward before an issue were to arise, and I know that the Attorney General 2 years before me was very active in Student Senate, and no, 3 years before me, pardon me. And I just thought that I don't want this to be a barrier to anyone who did want to have their voice be heard. So not a particular instance, but.
Thanks.
All right. Any further questions or corrections on Bill 50? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion to consider Bill 51. Cox Leader Lynn.
I move to consider Bill 51.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 51. And
Same thing.
yeah. Any questions or corrections there? Awesome. Thank you very much, Annalie. With that, we'll move on to Bill 52. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Booz.
I move to consider Bill 52. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 52. Will the author please come forward?
Good evening, everybody. So both of these next two bills are the submitted legislation for the Student Services Fee Committee's review of KSDB, otherwise known as Wildcat 91.9. So, authored by myself and sponsored by the Student Services Fee Committee, Bill 21-2252 is the continuance of the KSDB Reserve Student Services Fee allocation, whereas KSDB-FM has the potential for large one-time unexpected expenditures, including studio equipment, studio structures, and the KSDB-FM radio tower, whereas KSDB-FM should have reserve funds available in case of one-time unexpected expenditures, whereas the Student Services Fee Committee deemed that usage of these funds are important and have opportunities to be better utilized, and whereas the Student Services Fee Committee agreed to recommend to Student Senate the following Student Services Fee Agreement. Be it enacted that this contract, and the main thing to know about that contract is that this is an 8, 9, and 10% decrease based on their original allocation. And you can see that math, oh wait, sorry, that's for the operations. This is the continuance. So the reserve is actually held flat at that 3,880.
All right, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Chair Porter.
So I know that this is something that is in every contract, but on line 82, it uses the language his or her. Moving forward, can we amend that to be there, or is there like a legal reason that we can't do that?
Line 82. That is a good question. I don't know. If I had to guess, I don't know if legal language has caught up with like modern times. Legal language, that's like an individual. I know prior, things are adapting now, but like theirs definitely was like considered a pluralistic pronoun, and so his or her was just the singular for, So I can check with Jen. Yeah, I can check on that.
All right, Senator Booz.
Yeah. How much is in the reserve account at the moment?
That is, I don't know the exact number. It is just north of $20,000, and that is a significant number for KSDB. That is the approximated number of what it would cost to replace the antenna tower should it be basically like completely fried. And so if they don't have the antenna tower, the whole operation is basically shut down. So it's right at about the level where they like to keep it. But yeah.
All right, any further questions for the author? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to Bill 53. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Porter.
I move to consider Bill 53.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 53. Go ahead, Max.
All right, this is the decrease of the KSDB-FM operations account student services fee allocation, and it's authored by myself and Juan Pineda-Gomez, sponsored by the Student Services Fee Committee. Whereas KSDB-FM is a student-run radio station that provides award-winning, original, and diverse programming that aims to educate and entertain its listeners while providing a unique opportunity for students to learn professional broadcasting skills in an engaging, hands-on environment. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee reviewed the goals and improvements of KSDB-FM has made in the past year, including new and increased programming, a culture shift in studio, and replacements of severely outdated equipment. Whereas KSDB Wildcat 91.9 is to be commended for its ability to deliver high-quality experiences and services throughout the pandemic and insufficient funds callbacks, and for its efforts to increase funding from outside sources. Whereas KSDB FM has plans to purchase necessary and valuable equipment that will enhance student services, but has traditionally underutilized the reserve account and purchased these items from operations. Whereas the reserve account is not recommended to receive a reduction, whereas enrollment decline has led to significant declines in fee collections approximating $2 million, and the Kansas Board of Regents has communicated an intended moratorium on tuition and fee increases. Thus, entity budget decreases are necessary in alleviating the ongoing shortfalls in the overall fee budget, whereas there is no reason to predict that this decline will reverse in the near future. Whereas the committee took into account the impact of many different reduction scenarios and chose an amount that reduces the allocation in line with enrollment decreases while preserving the majority of the services provided. And whereas the Student Services Fee Committee agreed to recommend to Student Senate the following Student Services Fee Agreement. Be enacted at that, this contract, where it is recommending the 8, 9, and 10% decreases for fiscal years 23, 24, and 25, respectively.
All right, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Insero.
So what was the impetus of this? Because I see these two bills as taking the decrease from one and kind of shifting to a different account. Is that correct? And then what caused that shift?
Yeah, so the overall context, excellent question. The committee, Ian Punnett, the director of KSDB, some of the work that, and the most important work and like financial stuff that KSDB has coming up is a number of really useful for their like services provided, a number of equipment purchases. And we also know that they've had a kind of a level carry forward balance in their operations account right around that $20,000. And so the impetus of this decrease in operations and continuance in the reserve is to incentivize and encourage them to actually utilize that reserve. They haven't been utilizing it as much in past years. And so they've just been buying equipment out of their operations account. And so we found that as a place to still be able to make those cuts, and did that, asked for those like reduction scenarios and worked with them on the appropriate amount to do that as much as we could, knowing that they could then take that money that they were going to be spending on equipment purchases out of operations and use that from the reserve account, hopefully. Does that help answer some of that context?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right, are there any further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you all very much. With that, we will go ahead and move into second open period for the night. Are there any speakers for second open period? Advisor Ferris.
Hello, everyone. Not very often that I get up here, so thanks. I won't keep you long because y'all get to go on break, so jealous. First, enjoy that break. Please take time to rest, relax, recharge, spend time with friends and family, do things healthy for yourselves. I asked Blake to share a couple of moments with you all today to talk about Safe Ride. How many of you are familiar with Safe Ride? Awesome. How many of you used Safe Ride this year? Okay. We got to get that number up. But thank you to those who have used it. Thank you to those who know about it and share it with your friends and colleagues. As you probably remember, the Center for Student Involvement, who oversees and manages Safe Ride, was part of the insufficient funds callback that y'all passed a couple weeks ago. And part of that impact from that callback is going to impact Safe Ride. And so I wanted to, one, share some details with you about how Safe Ride is going since we've changed, but then also get your all's input on what we should do for the next semester, okay? So last year, just some numbers really fast. Last year we had 1,862 rides claimed all year long. Last year was the first year that we switched from the AdaBus in town to Lyft. Yay, how many of you appreciate Lyft versus the AdaBus? I know, I do. So last year, all of last year was 1,862 rides. So far this semester, We're already at 1,917 rides. Awesome, that's great. This year we've also, of those 1,900 rides, those have been claimed by 895 unique users. Great. That's in comparison to last year's 661. So again, we're seeing some improvement there. Here's the zinger though. This year we've already spent $17,000. Last year for the entire year, we spent $16,000. Obviously you can see our issue here, right? The average ride this year is $895 a ride. Last year was $863, so pretty even. Most rides are including at least one other person, so we know that we're likely impacting more than just those 895 unique students. 99% of our users who complete the survey say they would recommend the program to other people. Also great, we love to see that. Also in our survey response, we overwhelmingly get more requests for more rides, not surprising, longer hours, and more days. So right now it's just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Obviously people want more than that. So I come to you with a question of what do you think students would be most interested in given the budget situation that we're in for this year? So for example, if we were to maintain our current promotion, which is 2 rides a month per student, capped at $10 a ride, not bad, most of them again are coming in under $9. If we were to maintain that promotion, we would easily run out of what this year's earmarked allocation is for that, probably March. So that leaves April and May, maybe having a program, but likely not. After speaking with Blake, one of the recommendations he offered was cutting that down to just 1 ride a month at $10. That gets us maybe through the whole academic semester next year, or in the spring, but maybe not in May, and maybe it would end early in April. Or we could keep it at 2 rides, but cut it down to $5 a ride. So users would have to probably pay between $3 to $5 on average, in addition to what is covered by Safe Ride. That would also likely get us to the end of the semester. So, of 3 things, what do you think most students like yourselves would prefer from the future of Safe Ride?
I won't call on anyone. Go ahead and just shout it out.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What other things as far as the total CSI allocation were looked at instead of Safe Ride to cut money from?
Yeah, so we're also we're pulling from reserves for Safe Ride, which Safe Ride already runs in the reserves. It runs in the red on purpose, as well as Week of Welcome. We also had to cut student salaries. We're cutting all of our leadership development programming, some other areas, office operations pieces as well. So it's not that we're going just for Safe Ride.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. Other questions or thoughts? Sorry, Blake.
No, I was going to say, yeah, feel free if you have questions or thoughts, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, so I don't understand money, literally at all.
Okay,
So
we
first
probably
I'll
need to
tell
get you
you,
to
Blake,
Power Cup
explain the
Financial.
stock market to you today. So how is there a possibility that maybe we can transfer the Safe Ride program to another entity that maybe has more money so we don't have to cut down on it? Is that even a possibility?
Not in this current year, no.
Okay.
No. Good question.
So how was, where the funding's coming from right now, how was that chosen in the first place? Because you said that it's meant to be coming out of the reserve.
Yep.
So why is that the case?
Yeah, so some historical context. So previously, Safe Ride, when it was operated by Adabus, was an annual allocation of about $89,000 a year. When we, CSI, went to our last privilege fee review back in 2018, we opted to reduce that allocation because we wished to end the Adabus but also because of the growing carry forward balance that had kind of ballooned from unutilized funding from the past. And so in order to strategically use that up, instead of just having it sitting in a pot that never got spent, we opted to take a reduction in the annual allocation for Safe Ride. So we went from $89,000 to $15,000, which is massive. And at that point, we had it figured to where we could run Safe Ride for 6 years, almost 7 years. Over the last 2 years, last year and this year, that has gotten reduced because of callbacks and other cuts and increases to like how many people are using the program and things like that. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
As for like the question you posed, like between like culling it down to one ride versus decreasing the cap that will be like given to the student for free, I've been thinking about that. I think there's something to be said for having the cap high enough that like students don't have to pull out their wallet at all. I think that makes the process more convenient, like especially at a time where a student like might not want to think about like that part of the process.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I think that having one fewer ride, I'm not sure how many people are taking like 2 rides versus 1 ride per semester or whatever. But I think that having the 1 extra ride, the 2 rather than the 1, having it be like part of the program, I think would potentially encourage students to like double dip and go back to it again, even if they have to pull out their wallet a little bit, just because like I think perceiving it like to be paid for by the university, like at least in part, could encourage them to go back to it rather than rely on like another potentially less safe option. So personally, I would probably lead towards keeping the 2 but decreasing the cap, but they're kind of arguments from both sides.
Okay, thanks, great. Yeah, we can figure about half, little less than half of students who use it both, use both of their rides.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So you said that your last review was in like 2018?
I believe so, yeah.
So since it's coming out of this, the reserve or carry forward balance, like is there a way that we could have it fully funded until you get to that meeting again? Like until you meet with the student services review? Like have the review with student services?
Technically there is, so instead of going for 6 years, now we're down to 5 years. We could technically continue where we're at and we would end literally at the end of next academic year. It would run out of money. And at that point we would be up for review for the next fiscal year. But at that point the program is either dead on arrival when it goes to the student services fee, or there has to be an increase in the student services fee, one way or the other, right? So by not using up all of that carry forward in the next 2 years provides at least something that can continue, or it may reduce the amount of an increase that has to come at that next review, or other options that may come at that point.
I guess my thought on that is, we want students to, it looks like the usage numbers are increasing, right?
Yes.
And we want students to continue doing that. And any sort of cuts, the number of rides or the cost of the ride provided is going to possibly reduce that. And if we continue to raise the usage rates once it comes up for review, the student desire for that is obviously a lot higher. So I guess I lean towards what Kate's talking about, with maybe funding it fully just at 5 years.
Okay, that's another option. Thanks for that. Yeah, Maggie.
I'd just like to add anecdotally that like I love Safe Ride, and I have 2 roommates, and we put our 6 rides together and use all 6 almost every single month. And that's literally the only way that my roommates see SGA serving them, and I'm gone from our house except to eat and sleep. And so like, I don't know, I just think that it's a really cool program, and so I want to add on to what Jacob just said about like, if there's any way that we can keep it going fully, I think that that's a great way to involve students in SGA in a direct way.
Yep, thanks Maggie. We hear that a lot from students, is that they're coupling with other friends. So if on Friday night I use both of my rides, once to get there and once to get home, then the next night my next friend is using their rides to go and one coming back. So we hear that a lot from students, is that they're they're grouping up in that way. Michael?
What were other areas to reduce budget that were superseded on the chopping block by SafeRide?
Yeah, so obviously we could cut additional staff in our office. I think staff is always something that can be considered. Our staff is extremely slim, as many of you may know, with just 4 staff people running the entire office, when we used to be like 8. The other things were like our Org Central contract. Obviously, we're in a 5-year contract, so we can't just pull the plug on that one. We can cut, and we have decided to cut other programs and services and things like that to reduce that, again, in order to maintain. The CSI budget will have some ability to backfill the Safe Ride program if it gets to the point, say in the year 3 or year 4, that we could help keep it alive. By how much, I don't know, by that point. Because again, we're assuming that in a vacuum, that we don't have any additional cuts. We may have additional cuts next year and the year after and the year after, right? And so we just don't know. So some of the CSI budget has been kind of earmarked for future potential cuts. Does that make sense? Kind of playing the long game.
What was the expected end date?
So the expected end date was 2027, I believe. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. So.
How much has, from that prediction that was provided on impact statements compared to the current, you threw out a number, and I just want to see the comparison between those. It has gone up by how much?
Yeah, so when we originally presented in 2018 or 2019, I don't even remember what year it was. They all blend together. The projection was 6 or 7 years that we could run in the red. In our impact statement this year, at the 15% where we got cut, it runs into the red at 2025. If not before, then it gets in a dangerous position. And I'm not here to ask for more money, any of those things. I literally just am curious what students' input is on what to do about the actual promotion. So if you have ideas or thoughts, thanks to those who've shared insights, ask your friends, whatever, shoot those my direction. I have to make a decision about what happens with Safe Ride starting in January. I have to make that decision like in 2 weeks. So we're on a pretty quick turnaround to make this happen. Obviously, I want to see those numbers continue to increase, but as usership continues to increase, so does the cost associated with that. And so we're kind of we're going to run into a tough position. So if you have ideas or thoughts, please come chat them up with me. Shoot me an email, stop by my office, whatever you want to do. But appreciate the thoughts shared so far. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank
Have
you
a
so
good
much,
break,
Kelly.
everyone.
Alrighty. Are there any further speakers tonight for second open period? President Dowd.
Hi, I promise this is the last one. As a lot of you are likely interested in government and policy and in a lot of other areas, seeing some head nods all across the room. I will just say that we have a very well-connected group of individuals who are currently in SGA and also individuals who are alumni of K-State and SGA. Past student body presidents, student body vice presidents who now work for representatives in the federal office. So if you're interested in any type of internship, be it with Representative Marshall, Representative Mann, Representative Moran, and even others across the Kansas delegation, please let me know because we have very, very strong connections with those groups and can get you connected with that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. Are there any final speakers tonight for second open period? Seeing none, we will go ahead and hand it over to Senate shoutouts.
Alrighty, thanks, Blake. First, shout out, make Senate casual. Blake's shirt today is popping off. Shout out to President Dowd for having the busiest week ever for the 15th time. In all seriousness, we sincerely appreciate the insane amounts of work you and the rest of the executive branch have been putting in this term. Thank you so much. Shout out to President Dowd for his tireless work in service to students. Shout out to making it this far. I am happy you are here. Shout out to Josie for being the raddest mentee. To Peyton, I love you. To Evan, you'd better fight for Turkmenistan this weekend in Chicago. I think that's about Model UM. Shout out to those involved in the creation of the Strategic Oversight Committee. I'm incredibly excited to see what it can do. Shout out to Peyton Lynn for loving to make a motion more than she loves life itself. Shout out to all of our new senators that were sworn in tonight. Shout out to Speaker Blake for looking real good in his suit tonight. Shout out to all of the shiny new SGA lapel pins. Shout out to Evan for never being able to make a motion. Shout out to new senators. Shout out to Evan for being on top of filling our Senate seats. This one just says, greedy elections commissioner wants more than the minimum number of applications. There is a winky face. Shout out to Blake for keeping us absolutely moving tonight. Shout out to a speedy Senate happy Thanksgiving. Shout out to Annalie for being the light of my life. Shout out to the judicial branch for helping to make our body accessible to all of its members. Rachel's poofy hat reminds me of the Lorax for some reason. Shout out to Max Harmon for being a very cool guy. Shout out to Jothi, Jack, and Ben for getting sworn in tonight. Welcome to our body. Shout out to Peyton for becoming a committee chair. Shout out to Durga and Jacob for killing the allocations game. Why is it so cold in here? I feel like Frosty the Snowman. Shout out to all of the Safe Riders. To Marta, I love you more than Disney World. Marta is a financial genius. Shout out to my favorite caucus, College of Ed, you have my heart. The next one only says, who is Ed? Next, send help. My weird addiction is writing Senate shoutouts. To all of SGA, you all rock, you deserve an amazing break. Shout out to Tanner Koch for being such a nice guy. Juan, you are one of the coolest people I know.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for those Senate shout-outs tonight. Reference of, oh yeah. Yeah, I like it. Good call, everyone. So with that, for reference of legislation, Bills 46 through 49 will be referred to the Travel Allocations Committee. Bills 50 and 51 will be referred to the Senate Operations Committee. And Bills 52 and 53 will be referred to the Student Services Fee Committee. With that, we'll move into second roll call.
Alrighty, thanks, Blake. Bain.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Binkley. Booz.
Here.
Bray. Kahlo. Chappas.
Here.
Compton.
Here.
Croslow.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Ansero.
Here.
Esslinger.
You bet.
Gann.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Hotzel. Jambunathan.
Here.
Colorikial.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Kramer. Long. Lynn.
Here.
Mayer.
Here.
McPhee.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Middaugh.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Pineda Gomez. Porter.
Here.
Prester.
Always.
Richenberg.
Here.
Riffle.
Here.
Rook. Roth.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Scharnhorst. Shear.
Here.
Splekel.
Here.
Sitzma.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Vogelmore.
Here.
Wallace. Warren.
Here.
And Willis Reese.
Here. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Last thing from me, if you Venmo'd me for a pen and haven't gotten it yet, please come and see me after Senate. And if you're interested in getting one, please also come see me. So with that, we'll now seek a motion for adjournment. Caucus Leader Lynn.
I move to adjourn the meeting until 2 weeks from now at the same time in the same place. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to adjourn until after Thanksgiving break. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Have a nice night, everyone. Travel home safe and go Cats.
Yeah,